And I think the problem is a lot of people just don't understand what a deal is. A deal doesn't necessarily mean low price. There are no low prices in PC gaming these days. We covered this last week when we talked about the pre-builts.
Yeah.
And we basically said that the $1,300 price point was like the bare minimum starter. Today's video was brought to you by Ewin Racing, the best source for gaming chairs and desks for those long gaming sessions. We have a playlist of our Ewin chair and desk videos linked in the video description below. Save 30% off of everything using the discount code TechDeals. More details at the end of the video. So what else happened in 2021? Moving on from that. So Alder Lake launched. Alder Lake is impressive. It's the first CPU I've been impressed with from Intel for a couple of years. AMD didn't launch a CPU this year. They launched Zen 3 last year, although it finally became available this year. It actually, because I don't know if you remember back at the beginning of the year, but none of the Zen 3 5000 series chips were in stock for the first 4 or 5 months of the year.
I remember.
But then they became in stock.
They did.
And then there have been some deals on Zen 3 chips recently.
They have?
Although I would argue that just like the CPUs, you'd have been better off paying $600, $50 over retail for a 5900X when it launched in 2020 than to pay $500 for one today, a year later. Because whatever your use case is, it will reach end of life for you at the same time, regardless of when you bought it. So let's take Bob, Stuart, and Kevin, our favorite minions. Bob is a super heavy user, upgrades all the time, multitasks multiple monitors, always wants to be on the bleeding edge, and he keeps his CPUs only 2 years because he's always just upgrading because he needs a powerful machine because he's really busy with what's going on. If he keeps his CPUs to where they're 2 years old, if he had paid over retail for it a year ago, then he still has a year left in it. That would be 2 years. Him keeping it, the CPU reaches 2 years from its launch date, no matter when you bought it. If you went out today and bought this Phenom 2 from AMD today, guess what? It's an 11-year-old CPU. It doesn't matter that it's new to you today. It launched 11 years ago. So the Zen 3 chips launched in 2020, and they will always have launched in 2020, no matter when you buy one.
Correct.
So if he buys it today for $500, he gets it for 20% off, 18% off. But if he upgrades every 2 years, then he's either trailing by a year if he keeps it 2 years, because then it's really 3 years old when he gets rid of it.
Correct.
Or he only has a year of life in it. Well, what's a better deal? A $600 CPU that you keep for 2 years or a $500 CPU you keep for 1 year?
Well,
If I have, you have to explain that, then there's just no thinking going on. Now, that's Bob. Let's talk about Stuart. Stuart's in the middle. Stuart is mainstream, middle of the road. He likes to buy a bit premium, but he likes to keep it a little bit longer, and he's willing to just compromise a little bit so that he gets more than 2 years out of his CPUs. He likes to buy a new CPU and keep it 3 or 4 years. He wants premium experience the day he buys it, but then he's okay to soften his expectations in order to get more value out of it. Well, let's use 4 years just for nice round numbers. If he bought it for $600 a year ago, 4 years from that point, $600 divided by 4 is $150.
Correct.
Okay. If he bought it today, it's 3 years because the CPU didn't just become new today. I mean, if he's keeping it to that point in the life cycle of computers, then...
So it's $200.
Well, it's $500 divided by 3.
Oh, well, okay.
And $500 divided by 3 is $166. It's still cheaper for him to have bought it a year ago for over retail than today at a discount.
Correct.
Well,
then you got to use it and enjoy it.
And then you got to use it and enjoy it for a year. This stuff, the CPUs and GPUs do not drop in price by enough in a year. I keep getting asked this question. Oh, I'm thinking of finally upgrading my graphics card. Which one do I buy? The one a year ago. Not now. Don't buy in the middle of a life cycle. Buy when they launch. When the 40 series comes out, buy it. Well, I want to think about it and wait for a deal and see if I can. Did the 20 series, put the mining and the 30 series aside,
Right.
did the 20 series ever get substantially cheaper during its life?
No.
It might have dropped $100.
That's not substantially, though.
The 2060 launched for $349, and after a year or so, it dropped to $299. So it dropped $50 halfway through its life. Whoop-de-frickin-do. The 2080 Ti never dropped in price.
No.
In fact, 2080 Ti's today are basically going for what they were new in 2018.
Exactly.
3 years ago. Which, granted, is mining and a few other things. I mean, it is what it is. Normally they wouldn't be at the moment. They would. That's crazy. So, Stuart is better off having bought it at launch. Let's talk about Kevin. Kevin is kind of an interesting guy because Kevin figures he'll buy top of the line and keep it until it's entry level. And then buy top of the line and keep it until it's entry level. I don't agree with that philosophy, but a lot of people do it. So he wants to keep it 6 years.
$100 a year?
It's the same cost whether he bought it at launch for $600 or today for $500. Because 6 years divided by $600 is $100, and 5 years divided by $500 is $100. None of them benefited by waiting.
No.
So when everybody gets all excited going, Ryzen 9 5900X is finally $499. Okay, it took a year to get there. Why didn't you all buy it when it launched? Oh, they were going for over retail for $600. Yeah. That was actually fair. That's absurd. I'm not doing that.
Okay.
I understand the emotional logic people make. I get that people go, well, this price is $50 above retail and this price is $50 below retail, so this is a ripoff and this is a deal. You know what's interesting? Cars do the same thing. Mm-hmm. They tend to discount vehicles, offer rebates, cashback, or 0% financing at the end of the year. Right now, Ford is doing 0% financing, for example, on their F-150s, on their 2021s.
Yeah.
With the 2022s rolling in.
Correct.
You could have bought a 2021 in 2020 and already had it a year. And while they weren't offering 0% at the time, when you consider that 3 years on a vehicle you bought in 2020 versus 3 years on a vehicle you bought now, they're not the same thing when you get to the end.
Correct.
So buying at the end of the model year, oh, you get these discounts, it's cheaper. No, because the minute you drive it off the lot, it's already a full year old.
Yep.
And in 1 year's time after you drove it off the lot, 2023s will be out and it's now 2 years old. Mm-hmm. And so your cheaper price, I actually have come to the realization after multiple vehicles and having looked at this, you're better off paying a bit more to get the next model, to get a 2022 than you are to get last year's model. Well, I saved $3,000. Did you now? When you go to trade it in a couple of years, no, you didn't. It looks like it, but you didn't because the residual value.
Correct.
So, not to mention the fact that it's not really true today because nothing's staying on lots, but in normal times, at the end of the model year, some of the ones left on the lots at the end of the year have literally been sitting on the lot 6 months, meaning it was built in March or April, and it's had 300 miles driven on it occasionally on 450 test drives while it's sat out there not moving. You don't want that vehicle.
No. No, you don't want that.
So the one you want is the one they just pulled off the truck.
Yes.
That was built last week.
Yes.
As long as it's on a Monday or a Friday.
Oh, Monday, Friday.
We got some super chats?
We do.
Let's get to those in a second. Let's finish 2021. What else happened in 2021? Oh, yeah. Cryptocurrency went absolutely insane.
It did go nuts.
GPUs became completely unavailable. And the entire concept of both budget and mid-range gaming PCs got
disappeared.
It might as well have been the Death Star. Well, you know that's going to get blown up. I mean, if they ever make another Star Wars movie and there's another Death Star in it, you could just say, we're going to be treated to another Death Star explosion by the end of this. How do you know that? Been to this show before. That's just what they do.
It's called Limit Breaker.
That's... So,
Ta-da!
yeah. The whole thing, in fact, I got a comment that I'm going to respond to here. We've got several comments we're going to respond to where people are like, well, how come Tech Deals doesn't do deals anymore? And I think the problem is a lot of people just don't understand what a deal is. A deal doesn't necessarily mean low price. There are no low prices in PC gaming these days. We covered this last week when we talked about the pre-builts.
Yeah.
And we basically said that the $1,300 price point was like the bare minimum starter. And ideally you went up from there. But if you don't have that much to spend, just don't.
Console.
Yeah, that's it. There's nothing... You're literally wasting your money to buy anything less than those price points. And really you want to be at the $2,000 price point. So if anybody watching goes, well, I want to put together a machine. Great. Do you have $2,000? I've got $800. Well, then you're not putting together a computer. But I saw... No, you're not.
Buy a console and you can put some money in your pocket.
Yeah, there's nothing worth buying at those prices. That's just the reality of the market. This isn't me saying, well, you should all be rich and spend premium money. This is dealing with what is rather than what we wish it was. And I think this is partly why the entire tech YouTuber space is down. How many videos from people like Jay's 2 Cents have you seen where they're frustrated at the audience yells at them if they make videos on stuff that isn't available, and then they yell at them if they make videos that aren't about the stuff?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you can't win for losing.
And I haven't made a lot of videos in the past 6 months because I just don't want to hear it. It's not fun for me to cover stuff that you guys can't buy.
Correct.
I mean, I didn't do a review of the 3080 Ti. I didn't do a review of the 3060. I've benchmarked them. But I sat down. I did the 3070 and I did the 3070 versus 2070 versus 1070. And I started to write the script for the 3060, 2060, 1060 comparison.
Yes.
And I just looked at it and I said, well, what's the difference? These are all stupid.
Yep.
I mean, when 2060s are selling for $700
No. It's just
or $600, it's
Boo. Boo.
it isn't fun. It isn't fun for us to cover, and it isn't fun for you guys because you guys look at it and go, what are you supposed to do? Ewin Racing has a wide selection of chairs to fit all shapes and sizes of gamers, ranging from petite to cuddly. They have something for every type of gamer. Not just sizes, but colors and material options as well, including red, blue, purple, pink, orange, and more, plus cloth and leather choices. We have over half a dozen chair and desk videos in a playlist down in the video description below. We also have a very special offer just for Tech Deals viewers. Save 30% off of everything using discount code TechDeals using our link in the video description. We have used Ewin gaming chairs for 3 years in our office, sitting on them for up to 8-hour marathon live streams. They are very comfortable, and we are happy to work with Ewin to bring you this special discount and recommend Ewin for all of your gaming chair and desk needs.